Hi guys, welcome to ABC Interactive English. I'm Mike once again. Welcome back. It's part C of our look at the weather. We've been looking at the weather from a different couple of ways. Weather small talk, chatting about the weather, weather reports, getting weather information or the weather news, I guess you could call it, from the television or somewhere like that. And part C today is climate change. This is a much more serious topic than just chatting or watching weather reports. Climate change is happening, and maybe that's why we had such a hot summer. Are you guys tired of it? It's October. I am ready for the sun, the heat, the humid, wet air to go away, and yeah, I do have a bad habit of complaining about the weather. You can make small talk about the weather, but you can also complain about the weather. That's a fine thing to do. But because I was complaining about it, my wife got me something. She says, this is going to be really helpful as the hot summer comes to an end. It's a fan. Do you like it? It's got a cute little guy up here too. And I've been using it sometimes. I don't walk around with it because I think people might stare at me. But it's kind of cool. It's got 3 powers. Ooh, look at that. It's blowing my hair like Beyonce. Ooh, look at that. But it actually does kind of work. The problem is it's so small, it really only makes my ear cold or my nose cold. I need a giant one that I can carry around with me. But I guess it's better than nothing. Hopefully, though, we can stop climate change because can you imagine everyone walking around with one of these? That would be weird. Let's check out the dialogue. Greta and Albert are talking about climate change.
It's boiling out. It wasn't this hot at this time of year before.
The same thing is happening in my home country.
Really? Where are you from and how's the weather there?
I'm from the north of Finland. There's usually a lot of snow now.
All right, yes, we are here in part C of our look at the weather, some short dialogues about different parts of the weather. And as I mentioned today, it's all about climate change. So we're not just thinking about the weather today or for the next few days. We're thinking about how the weather will affect the planet in the coming years. And of course, climate change is a very serious problem that could become a very major problem, very dangerous possibly even, for people in the future. But it's certainly something we need to learn more about and help to change. So it says Greta and Albert are talking about climate change, so about this important topic of climate change. And yeah, when we talk about climate change, global warming, greenhouse gases, things like that, the world is getting warmer, the ice caps in the North South Pole or glaciers are melting, that fresh water is going into the ocean, so we might run out of water, weather patterns will change, the seas will rise, people who live on islands or on the coast near the ocean might have to move. Oh my gosh, all of these things are happening, and it's change, it's climate change. So we're talking about weather. When we talk about climate, it's not the weather in your neighborhood or in your area of the world. This is the weather around the globe. So these are big, big changes that have big, big effects. But of course, Albert, like most of us, is noticing the effect that climate change is happening where he lives. That's what he's most worried about right now because it is hot. And when I say it's hot, I don't mean it's hot, I mean it's hot. As Albert says, it's boiling out. Well, I hope not, Albert, because that would mean that the air temperature is 100 degrees Celsius, because that's what you need to have it be boiling. But what he's saying here is what we often do in English. He's exaggerating a little bit to really make his idea clear. He's just saying it's really, 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 really hot. It's boiling out. It wasn't this hot at this time of year before. So now he's kind of noticing climate change. You know, here it's October. It's almost 40 degrees. 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, this would be strange, but we've had weather like this recently, and it's almost normal. But when you think about it, it actually is pretty weird. This is definitely not what we had before. And Greta says, the same thing is happening in my home country. So they could be in Taiwan, but maybe Greta's from America or Australia, from somewhere far away. And she's like, oh, it's the same thing. We get weird hot days no matter where we are in the world, no matter what country we are in. What is a country? It's a nation. When we talk about the places you might go on holiday, you might talk about the different countries you want to visit. Countries like Japan, or America, or Austria, or Brazil. These are different countries. Not the cities, not the places your airplane might land in, but the whole area, the whole nation that you are visiting. Countries have different flags and leaders and passports and laws. And when we travel, unless you're in your own country, you might want to go and visit another country. Anyways, Albert is interested by what she says, so he says, really? Where are you from? And how's the weather there? So Greta is saying, you know, it's the same in my country. And Albert, like, what country are you talking about? And how do you notice that the weather is getting weird because of climate change? So Greta tells him, I'm from the north of Finland. Wow, very interesting. This northern European country up there near Russia. Yeah. It's usually pretty cold, a lot of snow in the winter, but they might have short, warm summers. She says there's usually a lot of snow now. All right, well, that might be what you expect, or maybe not, because this is in the north. When we talk about the north, we're talking about a place on the earth that, well, if you look at a map, north is usually up. When we think of the North Pole, when we think of Russia or Canada, these are countries in the north part of the planet, or northern, to use the adjective. When we think of the north of Taiwan, we think of places like Geelong and Danshui and Taipei. Those places are in the north. The south would be at the bottom of the map, places like Kending and Kaohsiung. And of course, we also have east and west going in different directions. And she said, usually, they usually have lots of snow. Usually is an adverb we use to talk about things that are normal, things that you expect to see, things that aren't weird or strange or, oh my gosh, look at that. No, if someone points something out to you and you're like, yeah, that's normal. I usually see that. There's nothing strange. It's very common, normal, or expected. And actually, right around this time in the article is when we usually take a break. So let's take a break.
What? It snows in October?
Yes, our winter usually starts in the middle of October and is often freezing cold.
Wow, that's cold. However, that's not true anymore, right?
Right. Our winter is starting later and getting warmer.
All right, so Albert is surprised. Obviously, Albert has never gone to northern Finland. Not many people probably have gone to northern Finland unless they live there. But anyways, Albert says, what? It snows in October? Right, so as the weather is really warm here in Taiwan, well, normally if you went to northern Finland, which again is close to the North Pole in the very north of the planet, you would expect to see snow in October. And you know, I'm from Canada, and even that sounds pretty early to me. In Canada, maybe November, December, but October is quite early to see snow. But yeah, that's what you expect to see. That's normal. That's what you usually see in Finland. And Greta says, yes, our winter usually starts in the middle of October and is often freezing cold. So like many parts in the north of the world, the winter is long, it starts quite early, and sure, of course, it will also be cold. What is the winter? Well, that is a season like spring, summer, autumn, or fall, and winter. It's the one that kind of comes at the end of the year for most of us. And generally, when we think of winter, we're thinking of the coldest temperatures. We're thinking of snow and things like that. Traditionally on the calendar, winter runs from December 21st to March 21st. That would be winter, but for a lot of places it will get cold a little bit before that. So when we think of the winter, we think of cold weather and the end of the year, Christmas, New Year, that kind of thing. And in places in the north, certainly, the winter could be freezing. Now, freezing here as an adjective just means very, very cold. If you take something and put it at a low temperature, as it goes down, that thing will freeze. That is the verb, to go from sort of liquid like water to something hard like ice. So it's freezing. We could use it as a verb, but as an adjective, we just say it's really, really cold. Maybe not actually around 0 degrees. If you wake up in the morning and the temperature changed and you only have a t-shirt on, oh, it's freezing when you get out of bed. Well, it's not that cold, but it feels very cold. It's freezing. That's how we use it in casual conversation. Wow, says Albert, that's cold. Snow and winter temperatures in October, that is very cold. However, he says, that's not true anymore, right? Remember, they're talking about global warming. Cold weather in October used to be normal in Finland, but maybe not now. Global warming and climate change. Right, says Greta, our winter is starting later and getting warmer. So instead of starting in October now, maybe it's more like November, maybe it's more like December. And instead of having 4 months of snow and ice on the ground, maybe they're now down around 2 or 3 months of snow, only in December and January. Things like that are definite signs of climate change, and it's not normal. Thanks for joining us, guys. Enjoy the weather, protect the earth, keep the weather kind of nice and normal, because we don't want to have it snowing here in the middle of winter in Taiwan, do we? That would be crazy. We'll see you back here sometime soon with more great articles. Until then, love the planet, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you. Bye. Greta and Albert are talking about climate change.
It's boiling out. It wasn't this hot at this time of year before.
The same thing is happening in my home country.
Really? Where are you from, and how's the weather there?
I'm from the north of Finland. There's usually a lot of snow now.
What? It snows in October?
Yes. Our winter usually starts in the middle of October and is often freezing cold.
Wow, that's cold. However, that's not true anymore, right?
Right. Our winter is starting later and getting warmer.
Hi, I'm Tina. 我们来看一下这一课的重点单字。第一个 country 名词国家 home country 指的就是出生或定居的国家。Ken's brother died for his country. Ken 的哥哥为国捐躯。下一个单字 north 名词北部北边。The winds here often come from the north. 这里的风常常来自北方。下一个单字 usually副词通常 What time do you usually go to bed? 你通常几点睡觉啊？下一个单字 winter 名词冬天 I eat more in the winter. 我在冬天吃的比较多。下面我们来看重点文法。第一个 this time of year 每年的这个时候。我们来看看以下这个例句 My father is usually very busy at this time of year. 每年这个时候，我爸爸通常非常忙碌。接着我们看第二个文法 Where is somebody from? 某人来自哪里？用来询问某人的国籍。假如班上来了一位转学生，是个外国帅哥，你好想知道他是哪国人，你就可以这样问你的朋友。
Where's the new classmate from?
He's from Vancouver, Canada.
最后一个文法 in the middle of 加名词，在什么的中间 middle 是名词中间。我们来看看下面这个例句 I got a phone call in the middle of the night. 我在半夜接到一通电话。以上就是这一课的重点跟单字，要记得复习哦。我们下一课再见，拜拜。
Hey, I'm Matt.
And I'm Jamie.
Today we're playing Word Drop. We each have 3 cards and we haven't looked at them yet. But on these cards are words and phrases that we need to fit into a conversation as smoothly as we can. So Jamie, do you want to start off our conversation?
Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, so one thing that I like about living in the US is that, or at least in the upper regions of the US, is that there are 4 seasons that you can celebrate, right? And that there are 4 seasons of temperatures you can enjoy. Because in Taiwan, usually the temperatures are kind of like very hot, mildly hot, and then not so hot, but in my opinion, it's not like quite cold. So I think one thing that I kind of miss is having a range of temperatures, like where it's like hot and then like pleasant and then very cold, right? And so, but that type of range, I think, only really happens if you live in the north.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah. I think I also like the temperature range, and although I do like hot weather. So, I'm from Canada, and where I'm from in Canada, it never gets really as hot as it gets here in Taipei. So, but I do kind of miss those like really cold days that you get, and it's really something you can only get when you're, in somewhere up north in the winter.
Yeah, I think not every country has winters, right? I think winters are, actually, when I said earlier about only in the north, no, think about it. If you're way in the south, right? Yeah. So actually, if you were in like South Australia or in like New Zealand, yeah, they do also have those cold temperatures, but just opposite times of year. But yeah, it just varies by country.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and that kind of climate thing. So, as I was saying, like, people assume that because I'm from Canada that the winters are extremely cold, but where I'm from, it's never that cold in winter because I'm from Vancouver, which is next to the ocean, so it never really goes like really cold. And in winter, it doesn't really snow much. It usually just rains.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard Vancouver and like Seattle, that area is just kind of a lot of rain, which I don't mind rain if I'm indoors. I just don't like it when I'm outdoors. But yeah, I think in the summer though, I like summer in that there's no school, I suppose, but I don't really like summer because it's so warm, right? And it's hottest in the middle of the day.
Okay, yes. Yeah, it is hottest in the middle of the day. I actually like hot temperatures because you can go to in the summer, you can go swimming, you can go somewhere to cool down, eat ice cream, and that's something really nice to do at this time of year.
It is, yeah. Is your word this time of year?
It is.
Oh, okay.
See you next time.